Everything we know, from people and ants to stars and galaxies to quarks and atoms, the entire universe, might just be a simulation running inside a supercomputer inside an even bigger universe. Ancient philosophers said that the universe is a dream that we're waiting to wake up from. In this dream world of the imagination, anything is possible. All cultural items, from the dreams of our rodent-like ancestors, to books, to television shows, are merely permutations of the reality we think we live in. Today's age of computers and video games places simulations at the center of our cultural consciousness. A select group of us perform simulations for fun and profit, and we call them games, role-playing and otherwise. We live to run simulations. Join us on the Simulationist podcast as we explore our culture of simulations.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Simulationist podcast. Welcome back to your own ear headphones piece. This is the 158th iteration of the show, recorded on the 13th of September, 2015. My name is Josh Trelevin, and with me, as always, on the other microphone,
co-host extraordinaire, Ryan Kirkby.
Hey, Ryan. How is it going?
Honestly, I'm in a little bit of pain. This last week, we went to the Saanich Fair on the holiday Monday.
Oh, poor you.
Well, that's the thing, is that we decided not to try and deal with the parking. Like, every time the Victoria Buzz website came up and showing, like, what's going on at the fair, like almost every comment was, oh, it's so hard for the parking. It's like, hey, there's no way people were getting in. And so we decided we're going to park a little further back, and then it was either, like, walk with my daughter on the side of a busy road, or put her up on my shoulders. And I checked out the distance later on in the day once we got back, and turns out we parked like 1.1 kilometers away from the fair. So given the time to get in there and all that, it was me carrying her on my back for approximately 3 kilometers.
Like on your shoulders or piggyback style?
On my shoulders. She prefers a shoulder ride. She gets a better view.
Yeah, it's a bit more comfortable, I think, for especially like a whole kilometer.
Well, that's the thing, is towards the end, as we were going back, she was nodding off so much I had to tell her, lean forward and grab my head, Zoe, come on here.
You couldn't just hang her back by your feet off your back?
Well, at that point in time, if that's how she wanted to fall asleep, that's why I let her hang. But it probably wouldn't have been good for her, so, just try and get her to lurch forward
just
on
fold forward over your face there.
It wouldn't be the first time she's fallen asleep on my head.
Huh.
She's done that before when we were downtown. So, yeah, because of
That's
all
like
that...
a good skill.
It's an interesting skill, I won't lie. I don't know how much it'll be continually useful. She's growing, and she's getting... I won't say she's hefty, but my goodness, I got to start doing more exercise.
She'll need to find bigger creatures to fall asleep on top of.
Well, we were at the fair, and there was plenty of creatures for her to choose from.
Oh, nice big bull steers and cows and pigs.
At her size, I think even the mini horses would be pretty good. Although I won't lie, the fur on the llama that she petted was just so soft. It was just so fuzzy. She can fall asleep very well on that llama back.
The last time I went to the petting zoo, the llamas had just been sheared, so they're nice and buzz cut.
Oh, no, this one was like, you know how you see the people with a really, tight, short hair? Mm-hmm. And you're just like, I want to pet that hair. This was exactly that, and you got a chance to pet it because it was a llama. It was a very nicely manicured llama. It was like, it's as fuzzy as I've always imagined it. Oh, yeah.
Fuzzy llamas.
So it was nice. They had some nice kids things going on there where kids always win for the thing. So, fish 3 animals out using magnets. So basically just swing your magnet fishing pole and get the creature come on out. And she won that. But the one I was really happy for was the strongman competition. Hit the bell, like ding.
Oh, yeah? And
kids always win. And the guy usually has to help out with the kid and all that. And it was all good. The guy was like a real pro at making sure the kids felt good. But for me, it was like she gets the hammer because she really wanted this, and I say, Zoe, wide stance, and automatically she assumes a wide leg stance, and she's ready. Her hammer's up, and I was like, oh my goodness!
She's a pro hammerer.
I had no idea that I had taught her that skill. I just shouted it as a nice little joke, and she followed suit perfectly. It was boss.
Yeah. Well, she's got that Thor's hammer at home that she can practice with. Yes, she does.
Actually, she won. If you look underneath the couch, I believe, right now, it is an inflatable large axe where she has won.
It's like a Norse Viking axe.
And that's one of 2 axes she's gotten this week.
Actually, it looks a little bit Minecrafty, too, with the
it's got a nice little diamond pattern along it, so it has kind of a Minecraft motif style to it, but it's a nice inflatable one. But that, my wife was out and about downtown this week, and she found the axe from How to Train Your Dragon for Astrid.
Oh, yeah.
And so he's got the Astrid costume for this year's Halloween. So in her bedroom right now, there's a wonderful, actual solid plastic axe. This is going to hurt when she swings it at me. But it's got a nice actual hilt on it. So it's kind of like a fur hilt on there. So it's real boss. So yeah, my daughter got 2 axes this week.
Like a Viking
all I got
princess.
Was a sore back out of it.
All you got was a sore back. Oh,
and a lot of great memories.
Okay, yeah,
and
subject matter for the podcast.
Suffice to say, though, I have been taking Tylenol to make certain I can get through everything. So hooray!
Yeah. So where did you hurt on your back? Like your shoulders or like down low? Or?
My muscles in the back have not been as what they should be. I should be doing more exercises when I get to the good back again. Mm-hmm. But it winds up going straight down my leg. Towards the end of my work shift today, I was feeling it all the way down to my heel.
Ooh. Yeah.
That's just how it goes when it's your back. It's a horrible, horrible system of muscles that kind of proves if there's a God, he was not an engineer.
Yeah. I was thinking the other day, bipedalism is really weird, especially because the only other, really bipedal creatures are birds, and they're quite a bit different than humans.
Yes.
But, I mean, they fly half the time, so...
Well, here's the thing.
Probably don't even count as real bipedal creatures.
The hip system is completely different. There's 3 different types of hips for bipedal creatures. Your lizard hips for your old-timey dinosaurs.
Right.
You got your bird hips, your avian hips, which some dinosaurs also had, I won't lie. And then you got your human hips.
Yeah.
We are the only ones with those hips. That's why it's called human hips.
Yeah.
Even chimpanzees don't have hips quite like what we do.
Yeah, not even the great apes are they're like, what do you do? I mean, yeah, we can walk on our 2 feet. But
Boy,
most
is
of the
that
time
awkward.
we just
How
do
did you guys
knuckles.
manage to conquer the world walking around like that? That's crazy.
But, honestly, though, seeing a human being, just walking, upright all the time, because animals, when they want to be threatening, they stand on their 2 feet, right?
Yeah, oh, yeah. You see a bear up on its hind legs, man, that is like an intimidating dang sight.
You get scared. So I imagine humans, this is a creature who always walks, is always ready for action, holy crap.
And here's the thing, is when we're happy, we smile and we show our teeth, which is a sign of aggression. We must be the most psychotic-looking species in the animal kingdom.
Just always standing on 2 feet and always smiling.
They're the angriest things I have ever seen. God, no wonder the wolves decided to hang out with them for so long. They're both nuts. Oh.
Yeah. But yeah, that's funny, because wolves, when wolves have their teeth kind of bared, that's kind of freaky.
There's a reason, the pointy ones are called canine teeth.
Yeah.
I mean, oof, those things are like you bare those, you're intimidating. Plus, they get the growl every time they bare them. You get that nice little throaty growl, and that means business.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if that's how we smile, is to show that we're really smiling and that we're not insincere about that? We had to do a throat growl just to really confuse the rest of the animal kingdom off. And then you combine it up with all the other things that make us weird as a species, because we breathe oxygen, which is like a corrosive substance.
Yeah.
And all that. And, the concept of
how do our lungs not get corroded?
Well, we must smoke to get that protective tar coating. But there's a whole bit about, aliens not ever wanting to go to Earth because, we breathe death.
Yeah.
And then it's what if the aliens have the same sort of system, baring teeth and going, upright as a sign of aggression? We are the highly aggressive death breathers from planet Earth. Man, you don't go to that planet. That planet is just insane. That's why we don't get aliens. We keep smiling and showing our teeth, and we're walking up on our hind legs.
To them, we look like the xenomorphs.
Oh, that suddenly makes me feel better about humanity, I won't lie. If we look as intimidating as the xenomorphs look to us, I'm okay with that a little bit more.
I mentioned, what if the aliens are, Ewok style? What do you think Ewoks think of humans? They're like, holy crap, you're so ugly.
There's no fur on them. They're just, Jiminy, Christmas is so horribly ugly. Oh.
And Wookiees, what are they? They're, ugly, so, ugh.
And they don't even have those recollectible dew claws, man. How do they climb their massive... Oh, look at the tiny, pitiful size of their trees. No wonder they're so sad.
Yeah. Although we are good tree climbers, I think...
as a species goes, yes.
Yeah.
I do recall at least one sci-fi game, pen and paper, wherein humanity was an interestingly unique species because we evolved from an arboreal heritage, and we are thus the only species in all of sentient space that has like like gymnastics as a thing. No other species does that. No other species came from an arboreal thing where swinging around on branches comes naturally.
It's funny too, because weren't you or one of us was making a point, I think on this very podcast maybe a while ago, about how dolphins were good for space navigation because they had sort of a 3D ability.
Any creature that has to navigate through 3D would work very well. I think cetaceans work better than the avians.
Yeah.
Because avians, you really got to power it up and down, and you got some limitations. Dolphins, and the other stuff like that, much more free roaming. But dolphins, due to their smaller size compared to stuff like whales, think much more freely in that. So I would imagine if you're going to have a sentient spaceship, forget the human brains in there, man. Go with a dolphin brain. An advanced dolphin brain. Not
and I think what was that ship? Was it Babylon 5 that had a dolphin?
I know, that Sequest had
Sequest had an
intelligent dolphin. I think it's been featured in a few things, the concept that dolphins would be better in space than we are.
But anyways, I was just thinking,
we'd have to really rank up their aggressiveness, though, if we want them as a fighter ship.
Yeah, well, dolphins can be... Do you know how they can, fight off sharks and stuff?
Maybe we just get a small shark to fight, our fighter ships are just some shark brains. Not like a great white, something small and maneuverable. Something really dangerous. In a spaceship that blasts lasers.
Okay, yeah, I'm on board.
The passenger ships, dolphins all the way.
But I was just thinking, the fact that humans are able to navigate branches and stuff, that is kind of a 3D world.
I think that helps us for logical progression.
Yeah.
Because that's how we go along our logic lines, is where we're, okay, if this goes this way, then we go this way here, branch out this way and this way, our options, and then we're able to go back and forth on these mental branches.
Yeah.
Because we can perceive them as branches of logic, and it's easy enough for us to navigate back and forth and think along those parallel lines. I sometimes wonder if alien species out there would be as good as us at parallel line thinking if they didn't have an arboreal ancestry.
Yeah. Man, this episode is all about how humans are great. Well,
which is odd because this week I've been trying to create up a deity.
Okay, for D&D,
for D&D, yeah. Admittedly, I've technically got everything that's needed from 5th edition perspective. Name, alignment, portfolio, and your symbol. Done. And that's not bad, but I want to give them a little bit more depth. I want to add in. So I was thinking, okay, I want a bestial god, something really primitive and angry. And it occurs to me, wait a minute, if you're bestial and primitive, you'd probably be doing, the fight to the death quickly sort of thing. If you don't kill him in a minute, okay, let him go. Whereas humanity is a persistence predator. We wound a large creature and then we just follow it till it collapses from exhaustion and then kill it.
Mm-hmm.
And for this deity's belief system, that is weakness. If you can't kill him quickly, you don't deserve the reward of fresh, tasty meats.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, just off the concept there, it's instead of humanity being great, why do you want to not be humanity? Because I want to take a bit from Howard's Conan stuff, where, oh no, we're going to remove society from humans. Oh no, they're turning into apes now. So you got those crazy ape men in his stories, which might seem racist. I won't lie, it's oh, it's a subhuman ape man. It could be interpreted as very horribly racist in this day and age. But just take, a page from when it was written. The gorilla was not even a known species. It was almost a mythological species when he was writing it. And that's why you had crazy stuff like King Kong being, oh yeah, apes are incredibly vicious creatures. They will rip out hearts and stomp skulls of lesser creatures. No. Apes aren't that bad. They're not horrible. They can be aggressive, and they do, like a new ape comes into power, and the first thing he does is kill all the babies. Because they're not his babies, and you got to get the potential moms over it, and onto the next batch of babies that are his. That's a viable, horrible viable technique in the animal kingdom.
Yeah.
So let's not say the apes are a wonderful, peaceful creature. I mean, they do horrible things from our morality. So yeah, I want to take a concept from that, and so it's okay. So I got these animal monster, bestial brutes going on. But if they're animals not like simian stuff, they're hunter, predator stuff, well then this persistence predation thing, that's a taboo, man. That is a perversion of nature. So in this case, what I wound up doing this week is proving humans as a horrible, weak thing that you're not. You want to ascend away from them, be more like the true, noble animals.
Yeah, well, not all. Some animals, like we're talking about predators.
Yes.
I think in many cases an animal doesn't necessarily kill its prey right away.
Well, if you can't kill the prey with, take it down and kill it quickly, you don't bother following it. Stuff like, that's the reason wolves hung out with humans.
Wolves have a similar...
Because they're
thing.
persistence predation as well, and that's why we started hanging out way back in the day. Is they were the only animals that could keep up with us.
But I remember seeing videos on YouTube of sort of big cats playing with prey, like little antelopes and stuff. If they don't catch and kill it right away, they're designed to kill with a killing bite, but oftentimes they won't quite, it won't take, and they'll just attack it and wound it.
But they won't keep fighting continuously.
Well, what they do is they end up sort of playing with it, and they'll chase it a little bit, and then it's wounded, so it sort of hangs around or whatever, so it can't run away.
Yeah.
But the cat doesn't. It's dumb, so cats are dumb, so it doesn't like. Oh, okay.
If they were smart, they'd be doing podcasts. There you go.
That's right. Yeah, it's calling you out, cats.
Great cats who will never listen to our podcast unless it's so far in the future. I believe we have fair leniency on what we say.
I don't know how the cats got away with taking over all the video content, but none of the audio content. It's cat-free. All the podcasts?
Because the captions were largely written by humans for their I Can Has Cheeseburger stuff. And they just can't, they can walk the walk, but they can't talk the talk.
And if dogs invented the internet, it would include smell.
I'm okay without that. There have been some nasty spots on the internet people have linked to me, and I'm kind of glad there was no smell associated, because that would have just made me just absolutely vomit. I just would have just spilled my just everything from stem to sternum would have just come right out. It was horrible.
Indeed. But I was just saying about cats, once it's killed, it hasn't killed the
once it's
creature
wounded
that went
it
after
enough,
it, wounded it. It doesn't think I should finish it off or anything like that. It's like, well, I'll just play with it, or I'll like, oh, look, it's moving, swat. But it doesn't like,
that's because cats are sadistic.
Well, no, that's nature, but okay.
Well, that's the thing. A lot of the other species won't do that sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, they won't. Most creatures won't like finish it off, like just to do that. Like humans, that's a weird thing that humans do, is the mercy kill, right? No other animal does a mercy kill. They might be evolved to do a very quick kill for practical reasons, but if they don't achieve that quick kill right away, they don't think, oh, I should put it out of its suffering.
Yeah, I won't lie. There have been a few times it's like, oh my God, what was that thing that I just hit? On the road. Turns out, by the way, spoiler alert, I suppose, it was a chunk of tire from like an 18-wheeler.
Yeah.
But I wasn't certain what it was, so I went back around and I pulled over and found out what it was.
To kill it.
Because here's the rule of the road: if you don't kill an animal you hit, and it's mortally wounded, you can actually get arrested for that. That's animal abuse. If you don't put an animal out of its misery, if like you hit like a deer and it's dying there, and there's no other way you can't like phone, I need some help there, get a hold of maybe you're in the park, get a hold of a warden for the thing here. We got to put this animal out of its misery.
Yeah.
If you leave the scene in any way and the animal's still there dying, that's an animal cruelty charge.
Okay, well
usually they don't do it alone. Usually you got to pair it up with you drove away from the scene of the crime in a vehicle. It's completely unsafe. So we'll just toss everything and just stack it up like a layer cake of punishment for you. But you can get busted for animal cruelty charges.
Okay, I remember I know a friend of mine was talking about how, well, I guess he didn't hit the seagull, but a seagull had been hit by a car. And this was in downtown Victoria, so there was a mix of kind of some homeless people and some people who were just out there on the street for whatever reason. So it was a fairly large crowd, right?
Yeah.
And he was thinking, well, the thing to do would be to snap the neck of or to wring the neck or whatever you have to do, because it was wounded, it was going to die, right? But you can't do that in front of like a whole bunch of people who are like, no.
Here's the thing: I've got friends, that wound up having to do like warden stuff, and so there's like, oh my goodness, there's a downed creature here, and they don't actually snap the neck. If you got the professional setup, they'll actually administer effectively what's a sedative, like morphine, effectively put it in into a level where it dies.
Yeah.
But the only reason they do that is because of the amount of backlash. How dare you break that creature's neck? It's like like, dude, it's dead already. It's just like a time factor going on here.
But I guess that's the difference between being sort of in an urban environment with people all around, or versus like if you're out in the middle of nowhere on a highway.
Which is where you, I guess, more likely to be, hitting a deer by accident.
Yeah, I imagine.
Urbanized deer aside.
But I think, the correct action, if you can, which you mentioned, was the correct action is to call somebody in authority, like, animal control.
There are some spots here in BC alone where there is no reception.
Yeah, it's possible, yeah.
So in which case it's either like, I'm going to leave this animal dying as I go off for help, or I, quickly, make sure it doesn't suffer. You
can do that, like, if you
know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing, you can make a situation even worse and cause more pain. So, like, if you don't know what you're doing, just wait a little bit and try and flag someone else on the road down and hope they know what they're doing.
Yeah, like, I wouldn't expect you to just, if you don't have a, gun, like, I don't own any guns, I wouldn't have a gun.
If you don't know where to slice the neck,
so, like, what are you supposed to do? Try and beat it to death? I mean, I couldn't do that. So.
Well, keep in mind, there was that one scene from Me, Myself, and Irene with Jim Carrey, where he tries to put a cow out of its misery, and he winds up taking 6 shots before the cow finally drops down. And then later on, there, like his superior is talking, and he's maliciously shot a cow. We just barely saved its life. So yeah, you got, like, even with a gun, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to automatically know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Hope to goodness that the next person who's there who can help you can flag down is a hunter. And that's what I got to say is in the bottom line, if for no other reason, hunting and having hunters out there and about there is good in the long run.
Yeah, so you have people trained in survival and firearms and things like that.
Yes, they will help. And 99 out of 100 hunters are completely law-abiding people that are doing everything right. They're not some horrible, malicious, I'm going to kill everything, like Yosemite Sam caricature.
Yeah, well, that's an you just pulled that number out of your butt, but
no, it's actually even more in that. It's
probably even more are.
Well, I don't want to say like 99.73%, but yeah, according to the statistical numbers they've got there, very few hunters are doing anything wrong. I mean,
they might break minor little rules like
running around with a gun,
littering or
littering is thing. But no, when it comes to the big things, I mean, a lot of the small towns even have like a just like the trust system, like okay, if you're gonna hunt like this animal in this district, you gotta like put some things here so we can do a proper necropsy on like the organs to see how their health is.
Put things on like tags and stuff.
Well, no, you gotta like submit like some organs, like put in a liver, so that way we can check the liver and do a general health. It's a very good information source to determine like how good the health of the animal population is out there.
My dad once shot a moose. In
which case, if you're in the area where you got to do that, is like back home, it's just like they got a large fridge sitting out there. Just write your name, put it in the baggie, and just pop it in.
Label it properly.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. They got like a pen there, and they got some bags for you to put everything in, and just write your name, the time,
date, shot.
Yeah. Put it in there, and we'll check it at the end of the day. We'll move it on in, and then just make sure you close it tight so dogs don't get in.
What if you're the game warden or whatever? Like, this would make a good, I don't know, horror Stephen King movie or something. You're like walking up end of the day to empty the freezer or check the day's remains. You open it up, and like one of the bags says human liver, date September the 13th.
I could see that as a very that's a very good. I guess I'll make a pun on that, is a cold opening sort of thing. It's like, oh my goodness, it's a human liver. Like, I mean, you don't even need to write human liver. I mean, the size alone would there's no way this isn't like a deer liver. What's going on here? It's not right.
Yeah.
But yeah, they generally ask for stuff. Sometimes stomach, so they can determine like how things are eating and like digesting through them. Very, very good information that can be learned that way, and it's largely a trust system because the hunters have that much goodwill in with the government. It's like, yeah, we trust you guys. You just put it in when you need, and we'll get the information out. Thank you.
Okay, well, fair enough. I mean, I expect, most people are good.
You do hear the occasional thing about illegal hunters, but they are very, very far in the margin.
Well, it's funny, because Canada, illegal hunting is like, not that, I mean, yes, you can get a fine. Sometimes they can be quite hefty, too.
Well, depending whether or not it's like an endangered creature and all that.
I suppose there might even be jail time if you do something really bad. But
yes, especially with the endangered stuff. During the spawning season, sort of thing, when the young are getting born, very hefty fines, very negatively looked down upon.
Yeah.
You can really impact like a herd's numbers for a long time that way.
But I remember hearing about in other countries, like in Africa, for example, they just shoot poachers. Like it's sort of
Poachers are on the game menu.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I guess we got to take down a few of these animals, and if you see any poachers, just shoot them.
Yeah.
To be fair, things are so bad there that it is an issue.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is why I keep saying, man, genetically engineer a pig with ivory tusks.
Yeah.
Just how many pigs are eaten every year in America alone? The amount of pigs slaughtered means we could produce so much ivory, the market bottoms out. It wouldn't be worth the price of the bullet to kill the elephant to get its bigger ivory.
It occurred to me just for 1 second that, I wonder if the pig bones go to waste, but that's the thing. I don't think any part of the pig goes to waste.
No, it's very bone black. Google that up.
Yeah.
It's basically, mostly cow bones, but they take the bones and they grind it down. It's very good for artwork, sort of thing. It's basically like a softer form of charcoal.
Yeah.
Very, very good artsy stuff. Blends very well with their paints and all that. So if you want to do like a nice black and white watercolor, bone black is a very good way to go.
I guess, anything solid basically from pigs and livestock, it gets used. The only waste that we have is all that stuff that gets flushed down into the oceans.
Yeah.
Like and
which, depending on how you...
dead zones in the rivers.
Well, here's the thing, though, is like the dead zones are not usually caused by, what's coming out of, like, the slaughterhouses. That's good nutrients. That helps cause blooms. Sometimes algae blooms. Watch out for the red tide, yo.
Well, isn't that the algae blooms in turn deprives the water of oxygen?
Only if they're severe enough.
Okay.
And it's not usually that severe to do it. It's an interesting, to the best of our knowledge, it's still not 100% determined here. It's a mix between a large algae bloom, high-end temperatures, and toxins killing off any remaining stuff. And if it's done in apparently the right order, the bloom, you get an anoxic environment, you get the pollutions go through there, they knock the numbers down, and then you warm up the temperatures and you basically kill off anything else in there. Then you get your horrible dead zones.
Yeah.
That is the leading theory. There's still a lot of other theories out there. Take it or leave it as you so choose. The consensus has not yet come in officially.
Yeah, this podcast is not, we're not experts on this particular matter.
I do have a degree, but it's not like it was just in that.
Okay.
I can speak from some measure, but
yes,
I'm not the final voice.
Yeah, there's lots more for people to read if they're interested in that, I guess.
I think everyone should be interested in it. It's a very, very weird little thing going on.
And it's probably one of our bigger, issues, environmental issues.
Well, dead ocean, yeah.
Yeah, we do have things like, worrying about methane production and things like that, which is troubling in itself.
There's a lot of interesting carbon fixation going on in the oceans. And if you've got a dead ocean, that's not happening. Greenhouse gas gets even worse.
Indeed.
So, keep an eye on that. It's a very, very dangerous thing if left unchecked.
Okay. Well, should we get back to what you were up to? What else you did?
But here's the thing: is I was thinking about posting this once I get my god done up here, and I get its brutish race of like, I guess I'm gonna call them subhumanoids for now.
Yeah.
But they really see themselves as ascended from humanity. They're better than, because they've left the weakness of humanity's weak ways behind. They're tough and strong. And
that's cool. Yeah.
So once I get that done, I was thinking, I'll post this up on go to the Reddit, maybe sign up.
Yeah, the D&D Reddit. Or
they got a D&D for 5th edition there. Yeah, they've got it separated by edition, so that way you don't get any crazy stuff in there.
So what's that Reddit called?
Just like D&D 5th edition Reddit.
Okay, D&D 5th edition. D-N-N-D with
D
the
ampersand, yeah.
D ampersand D.
Yeah.
I didn't know that they could fit that in. Okay.
Well, I don't know. This is what I Googled up to find out.
Okay.
It was like the first thing there, so.
Right.
And I'm looking at some of the other people's stuff, and I gotta say, I'm intimidated. These people aren't just putting like a block of text out here. It's like, here's my idea. What do you guys think? They're taking it's like, go here. Here's the link to the Imager thing, and then they've got like a nice page, like it's like an image thing, like a high-end res thing. The background is colored like you see in the 5th edition D&D books, and some people have artwork along on the sides, and it's all.
Is it good artwork?
It's very good artwork.
Now, does the artwork
attributed in most cases?
It's like somebody else. They found it on the internet.
Or they
somewhere.
took a page, here's the artwork they used from 5th edition, D&D for this one. They want to use it for their ghosts thing going on there. There's a big thing about making sure that all artists get proper attribution for their stuff.
Okay.
And don't steal, the whole thing, and at least try and ask them for permission beforehand. I mean, they're not making any money off this, but don't be a dick. Ask first, right?
Yeah. Well, forums have always been a little bit like that because it's not commercial. It's just sort of people sharing, like, oh, look at this I found. And so
yeah.
I think the
but
rules
in
are
this
a
case,
little bit
like the quality of it is so good, it could be mistaken for professional work sort of thing. So I got to say, like I like once I'm done, I can't just say I'm done and like copy paste it. It's like I gotta start looking at what they're doing. What sort of tools are they using here to create these things? I got to step up my game. What fonts are they using? This matters, man.
Right. Yeah.
So this is a far cry from the the forums of old I used to post on back in the day. This is oh my goodness, I got to get an imager thing. I might have to look at what sort of programs they're using. I can't just put in a block of text. Once I get everything written up, that's half the way done. I'm not completely done then. My goodness.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got to step it up, man. Like I got to rise to the occasion. Eye of the tiger. Whew. But yeah, I've been looking a lot, and there's some really nice stuff out there. Very, very good things. People very imaginatively doing stuff. It doesn't seem to be anyone trying to coalesce at all. It's like, put out a netbook. Like they used to put out netbooks, little PDFs of like, a bunch of people came up with a similar themed ideas, and they put it all together. And so you'd find the netbook of liches out on. It was always for free.
Mm-hmm.
This would be back like second edition, before like third edition came through and the open game stuff, and you could find this stuff. It's probably still floating about there. You might have to search a little harder, but like it doesn't seem like there's anyone trying to collate all this stuff together. Like, oh, here's a bunch of new domains for clerics, and here's a bunch of like monster types. So
yeah,
I don't know, man. Maybe there is someone looking at the stuff, but no one out there actively trying to archive the contents into a PDF of their own.
Yeah, and you're talking about basically fan-made stuff, right? Or
all homebrews from what I've seen, yeah.
I remember I saw a couple of attempts, but it's hard to, because people will put it up on their own blog, and sometimes the blogs go away or whatever, and so it's hard to find them.
And that's why I think the netbook is really important.
Yeah.
I've put out a lot of stuff that was on the forums, and it got featured up, but the website's gone. I don't think the forum is even active anymore.
You're talking about Realms of Evil now?
Yes, the Realms of Evil, first .com, then .net.
Yeah.
Domain squatters. And it was just nice stuff. People liked it. I mean, Monty Cook was there from time to time peeking in on stuff. Like, Monty Cook was looking at my work. I feel pretty good about that. But if someone wanted to find that now and they didn't like copy paste onto their own Word document, the only copies that are left are what's on my external hard drive. But if we could have put that all out into a little netbook for free, put up on like Drive-Thru RPG, they would have been promoted and kept there. It would have been so much longer lived. Mm-hmm. And I think if it's worth it, I think if you got good quality stuff, you should try and make sure it lasts.
Well, it's always occurred to me, ever since I first found out about how Wikipedia works and various other wikis.
There is a wiki for the 5th edition D&D.
Okay, yeah.
It's not as well curated.
Yeah, that's the problem, I guess.
So,
needs work. But it occurred to me that would be the best
in progress.
The best way to manage a rule system would be some sort of wiki.
Or if you got the time and effort, I mean, do look up the D20 SRD for 3rd edition. There's some nice gentleman has put everything up and properly wiki-linked everything. It's all hypertext linked it all up together. Mm-hmm. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. It's like there have been like months I've never touched my 3rd edition main books because it was so much easier for me just to do a quick search in the website there and links, find it all, get it all done, bam. So it was able to beat like the PDFs you could find of it illegally online for like the 3rd edition stuff, and it was quicker than having my own books in my hand. It was that much better. So that says something. So if you got the time and effort and you know your HTML, and you got the contents for it, get your own site. But for now, I'm just going to try and get back into the groove of creation and make sure I get this stuff done up right. Mm-hmm. Spend a little bit more time because now that I know, that's a high bar for me to go, man. Like I don't want to look like some sort of freaking noob that needs to lurk more. I gotta make sure I come out with the gold material, platinum quality, man, astral diamond quality.
All right.
So how about you though?
It's up to things. A little bit of video games.
Oh, yes, yeah.
What did I play? I played more of Don't Starve. I
yes.
started back up again last week. I went underground, and my character got killed, went insane.
Oh, dig it.
Yeah. What got killed by, like, when you go insane because you have 3 meters in that game. You have health, hunger, and sanity. So you have to keep them all at about the same level. And I haven't quite figured out the best way to stay sane. Because it's called Don't Starve. So one of the first things you do is learn how to get food and stay alive. So I was doing
berries, yo.
Yeah, I was doing really good at that and getting it and keep on, making sure I had enough food still coming in, that it was fine. And food rots in that game. So
good.
if you, you gather a whole bunch of meat, you're like, I'm going to never have to worry again about starving. Oh, all that meat I had, that 40 pieces of prime juicy meat, and it all turned into rot. So.
No Dwarf Fortress style then, eh? Make it into food, it lasts for years.
Yeah.
Tallow, and tallow. All freshly minced and cooked together. Lasts infinity.
Yeah. I think you can jerkyify.
Jerk?
Yeah, I guess you can jerk the
jerkify
meat. But then that makes it last a bit longer. But yeah, otherwise it just rots away. But I was doing okay. Like, I was getting more and more food. But then after a little while, you have to start worrying about your sanity dropping. And there are a couple of mushrooms that if you cook them, they restore sanity.
As opposed to taking them raw, which drives you nuts because magic mushroom.
Yeah, and all the mushrooms hurt you. They take health away. But some of them, if you cook them, they give sanity back. So
it's a trade-off.
Yeah.
Health for sanity.
Yeah. But you can get health by poultices, or food gives you a little bit of health too, in addition to hunger.
So what if you make like a mushroom poultice?
I don't know. That might be a thing later on in the game, but I haven't discovered that yet, if there's such a thing. But that would be kind of cool. It'd be like a universal, heals all 3.
Dig it.
So I went underground to do some dungeon delving, which I hadn't done up until now, and Don't Starve. And yeah, if you go underground, your sanity is just always draining, like just from being underground. It's just constantly.
Weird.
Yeah, so I didn't realize it until it was too late. And then what happens in Don't Starve when your sanity bar goes
underneath that critical threshold?
Yeah, underneath a certain level, you get attacked by like imaginary shadow creatures that just sort of start appearing. It's funny because you can see them earlier on, like when your sanity is about half. You see them, but they're harmless, right? They don't do anything to you. You're like, oh yeah, I see you again. And they're just sort of walking around in the background. They're very dim, like you can sort of see them, but not really. It's a really neat effect, like that game. Have you played Don't Starve?
I've looked at it. I haven't.
Okay.
I figure if I'm going to play it, I'm going to play it a lot, so I can't get myself too deep.
It's one of these games that can get quite addictive.
I only got so much time, dude.
But yeah, once your sanity drops, they become real and they start attacking you, and then it's like, oh, okay. So yeah, my guy died, but I had an extra life, so the game is not over for that character.
Hooray,
although we died in the middle of winter, so it could be difficult
to recover from that.
But
yeah.
I do have lots of extra firewood and ways to get food fairly quickly. So
just keep away from the underground, yo.
Well, eventually I'm going to have to. I think that's the end game, at least part of it, because I think there's a way to win the game. Like there's a big bad guy that you eventually have to fight. His name is Maxwell, I think. So eventually I'll get
Beware his silver hammer.
Maxwell and the Silver Hammer?
Maxwell's Silver Hammer? Beatles song?
No.
Maxwell's Silver Hammer? Come on, man.
Okay, yeah. That might be it might be a reference to that. I don't know.
You miss all my best, quotes and lines, man.
Yeah. And I played a bit more Minecraft. I did some more mapping in Minecraft.
Oh, yes, that's right. I have a problem with
Minecraft?
my Minecraft. Creatures aren't spawning anymore. Like, I got rid of the Mozarks mod. which has like a second thing that does like an older style monster spawner.
Okay.
And nothing is spawning naturally in my overworld. No monsters spawning.
And it's not on peaceful or anything like that?
No, to the best of my knowledge. I went over to the Nether, and we got pigmen that are popping in, and I'm hearing a wither. I'm not going out looking for it because I hate the wither. Sorry, no, the ghasts.
Oh, ghasts.
Yes. I got no love to seek that out. My monster spawners are still spawning monsters normally, but there is no natural monsters coming. I was sitting outside all night long. There's nothing at all.
Well, I wouldn't even know where to.
I might just have to
put
keep Mozart's creatures out and just put in the monster spawner thing again.
Maybe, yeah.
That said, I'm enjoying just doing digging all night and all day. Just because I'm finishing off that last part of the mountain to finish up my wonderful city. Although, I'm not gonna lie, I'm thinking about starting up another game, and instead of going magic, try some of the technology stuff out.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to like it. I kind of dig the two magic systems I currently have, but I should at least give it a try. So, who knows? Fingers crossed, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
Yes. So you did more mapping?
Yeah, I did some more mapping in Minecraft, and running around on a horse through just acres and acres of plains and savanna. So I don't know, not much to report there, I guess. Just
were you enjoying it though?
I was, yeah. I had fun, yeah.
It's a lot easier to go on those plains though on a horse because you have that automatic like step up thing.
Yep.
Less jumping around. Very, very nice.
Yeah. It was good. I covered a lot of ground. So that was Minecraft, and also comedy shows. I went Monday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So yeah, just went and watched a lot of comedy and got to be on stage on Monday and Thursday. So I was out at Ratfish in Victoria, beautiful Victoria, British Columbia. So
beautiful for now. I've been told the weather's not going to keep up. We're hitting the fall weather once again.
Yeah, we'll get a little bit of rain here and there.
So here's a question for you though: would it be considered cheating if I just went down and amongst the caverns underneath my town and just went exploring for ores and all that without having to worry about monsters popping in?
Would it be considered cheating?
It's a little cheaty, isn't it?
If you were in some kind of competition, I suppose. But, you're just playing for your own benefit, right? So. Yeah.
I suppose, yeah.
I would do it for a while. I would do it for a little while. And then, once I got kind of, tired of that, I would be like...
Although I won't lie, I don't have much of a need for most ores. I've got the ore generation on. Oh, and I'm finally getting everything hooked up with the Jabba, B-Link barrels, so I can have I can have my golems putting stuff into one area and then it pops out on the other. And oh my goodness, is that saving me a lot of time because I don't have to go back and clean out the boxes every once in a while, cleaning the dang stables. It just pops on over. I may need to make a lot more furnaces to smelt fast enough because my golems are picking things at such a rate. But then what am I going to do when I get it all? Who needs 37 blocks of gold, really? Because I got 137 blocks of gold. It's getting to a point where I'm collecting just to collect.
Well, let's see. What do I use gold for? Rails, powered rails.
Yeah.
I also changed the recipe, and I don't know if now that I'm starting to build dispensers, I'm like, that was a bad idea. But I changed the recipe for dispensers to require 7 gold per dispenser, which turns out that's quite expensive.
I guess for you. I'm growing gold.
Well, think about it, 7 is almost a block, too short of a block. So if you have 137 blocks of gold, that's 137 dispensers. Which isn't a huge... I
don't even have the gold area set up to teleport the stuff to smelt at all.
Okay.
I could have it just continually producing gold. Just plop, 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 one nugget at a time.
Yeah. But I'm just thinking 137 dispensers is a medium to large project. If you were, doing some kind of dispensing machine, you might need that many. But maybe not. I don't know.
All I know is I wish they had some sort of redstone thing to harvest, because that's what I'm short on.
Oh, really?
I got
Are
a
you
decent
short on
number of
redstone?
blocks. I can't grow more. I can grow the others.
Oh, I see. Yeah, because
And,
you don't do the mining thing.
Well, I do mining things, but just not to the same degree, because right now I'm focusing on building wonderful stuff in my city. That said, I've got some plans for some magic spells and some other stuff for my both Ars Magica and the Thaumcraft to just blow stuff up faster than dynamite. And that'll be fun when that time comes around, but I don't need to do it to my general landscape. But, oh my goodness, I think when the time comes, I can get more blocks quicker than a quarry. One of those automated, mechanism quarries. Because it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I got, my giant 3x3 hammer. So I get a new Mistcraft world, and I just pop in there and make sure it's a flat one, no caves, and just dig down to the bottom, go up to the top, and just repeat as needed.
Mm-hmm.
That was actually kind of nice, though, because I've got the Silk Touch on it. It means it mine's a little slower, but I've pumped that back up with some redstone. That's where a lot of my redstone's gone to. But I no longer have cobblestone when I'm digging this all stuff. It all comes out perfect stone. And I'm digging that, yeah.
Yeah, digging it.
In large swaths, I'm digging it, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's weird little things going on there. It's no monsters, and I'm kind of missing them.
Yeah, right. Well, I had, do you know, if you find a mushroom island, have you found one in your world?
It is. It's about 10,000 blocks away, but I went there once.
Yeah. Monsters don't spawn in that whole biome, even underground.
I noticed that, but it turns out they do spawn on mycelium in other biomes. I checked that one out, so yeah.
But yeah, I went there, and I was like, oh, I should really just set up a mining base here, because, if you can mine to your heart's content.
I did that in one mushroom biome in a previous map I had.
Yeah.
I think after a certain point under the ground, though, monsters do spawn.
I think, if you get outside the outside the borders of the biome.
And there's caves going everywhere underneath those biomes, so oof. But yeah, it's a very nice, especially if you can find a big enough mushroom biome. Or if you got a Mistcraft thing, I got mushroom biome as its own thing. I could do a mushroom biome, flat ground, only terrain, so it would just be nothing but a flat land of mushroom.
That's kind of pretty to think about.
A little monotonous, I think, though.
Yeah.
So, oh well. But yeah, that's been, I guess, our weeks in fiction.
Yeah, I wanted to bring up coming up in Victoria. Well, okay, yeah, we'll talk about, we have news.
Yes.
I don't know.
Well, it's an interesting reality to help dictate your fiction, sort of thing.
Yeah, so the Queen Elizabeth recently passed the milestone. Yeah, the current one. Yes. Passed the milestone of being the longest reigning British monarch ever.
63 years and some odd months.
Yeah, which is a weird thing to sort of... I don't know if they were celebrating, because it is a bit weird because you're sort of celebrating that Queen Victoria only lasted so long, or something like that.
Well, I mean, only lasted 63 years herself.
63 years. Yeah. And then you're like, hey, you lasted longer than this other broad. Congratulations.
Well, I mean, she's lasted longer than every other British monarch ever recorded.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And I just thought of something that I forgot to look up before the show, but I wonder if there are any other monarchs of other countries that have lasted, or is this the longest monarch of any country?
60-something years. I mean, you come into power at age 18, that still puts you at a nice ripe age. Most of the time throughout history, if you could live 80 years, that's very long lived. Forget ruling a nation, especially at most parts in history. You're like, oh boy, you're on the ruling the throne. There's a knife ready for your back at any moment.
Yeah,
someone always wants to.
Must have been somebody though in some country,
probably
that lasted long. But I don't know. That's something to look up.
But that's an interesting thing though. It's 63 years, longest British monarch. And so yeah, use that in your fiction. How long should your kings and queens be ruling in your novel, in your role playing game? That you're DMing. 63 years is a nice human upper limit.
In a modern period too, for that matter.
Yeah. So take that as generous. Times that number by 7. So we'll just say 60. 60 times 7 is 42. They have 420 years for an elven monarch to rule.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if you have an elven monarch, that's been ruling for a half millennia, that's incredibly long-lived and very rare by proportional human standards.
Oh, that reminds me. I forget where I was reading it, or I heard it maybe on another podcast, possibly Weird Things, that basically somebody calculated out like how long you would live. Like if humans didn't die of the normal stuff, we'd die of like heart disease and cancer, Alzheimer's, I think a couple others. If people only died from accidents rather than diseases, they worked out the statistics, and basically you would still, on average, people would live about 500 years because we have that many accidents.
But that's the thing, though. Things would change. If the only reason we're dying is because of accidents, you can bet 40 kilometers an hour for like a driving speed would become excessive.
I suppose it might. I mean, if you
20
didn't...
kilometers an hour max. We don't want anyone to die here because we're all immortal.
If you didn't die of starvation or something like that, because we still have that sort of urgency of, got to earn a living, got to drive our 50K so we can get to our work and all that stuff. But I suppose that problem could also be solved, basically.
Through finances.
Yeah,
just work 200 years, save up the money as you go, and then put it in a savings account.
Yeah.
If you're living 500 years, there you go.
And then you could just live off interest for 400. Would that be a good existence? I guess if, like, for me, if I had internet and if I could do a podcast every week and like do this for 500 years, I would.
I won't lie. Being able to spend time with my wife and daughter like every day for 400 or 500 years, that sounds like an amazing existence to me.
Yeah.
Even if my daughter will grow up and eventually have her own
she's
life.
going to grow up and be on her own. But I mean, I guess she can still visit or whatever.
Yeah, be a nice, good, close family. Skype with my parents. Because they're going to live for 500 years.
Yeah, your parents are going. Yeah, if we're talking, we're making the planet immortal except for accidents. Yeah.
Yeah.
But accidents would still happen.
Which is why I worry about my dad, because that chicken coop back where he is getting a little decrepit. He can live 500 years, but I don't think that chicken coop's going to last another 20.
Yeah.
There's some areas on it where it's just decaying. I fear that might be his accident that ends the 500 years for him. Well, it's full of like rotting wood in some areas and chicken wire.
Yeah.
Boy, doesn't that spell in a disaster waiting to happen. So I keep telling them, tear that stuff down, man. Keep only the good stuff left, man. Don't let the whole thing rot.
Yeah.
But 500 years, yeah. I could get a lot of good stuff, especially if he's okay, I've done my fair share of work. I'm on the retirement fund for the rest of my existence.
Yeah.
Then I could see myself doing a lot of good creative stuff. So maybe that's how society would wind up becoming then. The first, they'll say, heck, if you're going to live forever, make the first 40 years just education. Make sure you're a really smart group. And then you spend the next 100 years, 110 years or so, working.
Yeah, right.
Get yourself in that cash, and then you're 150 years old, and then the life expectancy then is 350 years of artistic production. That's where all the singers and artworks, the greatest painters are coming from.
That's interesting, though, because it seems to be in our society, and this might just be a sort of a North American phenomenon, but we seem to value those sort of teenage idols, those, our Justin Biebers. We seem to really...
The society as a large does. I see a lot of people that just really would be okay if Justin Bieber retired and was never showing his face in public.
I don't know if he's the best example, but there are young artists who we really love. Part of the reason why we really love them is because they're young.
Wow. There's something to be said about the vivaciousness of youth.
Yeah.
I tell you, no matter how healthy you are, eventually, time takes its toll, and you look at things a little differently.
And I guess another big profession for that would be actors and stuff. I guess I don't know why that's not been on my mind lately, but if you're an actor or if you're a woman and you're an actor in your 40s, you start to see. I guess I read an article. I can't remember who was one of these actors who was getting up there in age, to age 40,
which is considered to be horribly ancient amongst the actresses. Apparently, it's a sad thing.
But yeah, we would have to solve that problem if we had Or else nobody would be an actor after.
40 still seems pretty darn young, man. I mean,
Yeah.
especially if you're living 500 years.
I think so.
But yeah, I mean, that'd be kind of interesting. You put in your hard work time sort of thing. It'd be like a mandatory, physical labor part. And then, you give it off to the younger folks who could put in the job and position. You just do your retirement and produce the arts, man. Like, I really want to be a musician. So wait until you're 150 and you retire. Until then, we need you working at this factory. Make sure you put on the gloves and the hard helmet and wear your glass and eye protection. We're living forever,
I will say, though, like, I don't know if we've talked about automation much before, but I think since we're talking about long periods of time, in 100 years, I think it'll be like, I think factory jobs will be quite rare, in fact. In fact, there won't be enough for everybody, like,
there's already not enough factory jobs for most people here across Canada.
Yeah, and I think that'll be more and more the case, and we're going to end up with, I don't know, I think where society's going is there won't be such a thing as a job. Like
there's an increasingly smaller job pool to choose from.
Yeah.
And that is the thing. That's why some people are talking about, like, should the government take up the role of mandatory, like, housing?
Yeah, something like that.
You want a better house, go for it, but there's some government housing for everyone because, like, there's just not enough jobs to go around for all the people that are there.
Yeah, and then the other thing is,
or will be there, I suppose, in the future.
The reason that these jobs are all going away is because we're getting automation, like robots, computerization, everything's getting streamlined.
The current problem right now is that there are some people benefiting from this and a lot of people that aren't getting any benefit because they don't have the jobs anymore.
Well, yeah, exactly. Like, it's incredibly efficient and incredibly profitable. Like,
for some people.
Yeah, so
if you no longer have a job, it's not very profitable at all for you.
Exactly, yeah.
That said, I look forward to the day where we have like T-shirts without any seams on them.
Oh, yes.
It's just automated 3D printing.
Yeah, 3D printed. Yeah, for some reason that's your thing. That's what you want.
Well, I mean, it'll be like the change in fashion. It's like, Grandpa, what are those weird lines on the shirts that you're all wearing? Oh, those are seams. What's a seam, Grandpa? Back in the day, we used to have to put the cloth together in a certain shape. We couldn't just have it printed all at once. We had to physically assemble it piece by piece. And like, that was weird, Grandpa. Like how do you clean your shirts at the end? It's like, well, we had to wash them. Well, what do you mean wash them? You don't just like have them dissolve at the end of your time, and get re-sewn up into a new shirt later on. It's like, no, we actually had to physically get the dirt out by, like manual agitation.
We had to just throw them in this machine instead of that machine.
And, sometimes it didn't get them properly cleaned because you didn't unravel the shirt at the polymer level. And you're like, wow, Grandpa, things must have been really primitive when you grew up. It's like, oh, you have no idea. We didn't even have the super internet back then.
The super internet.
I imagine there's going to be something much better than the internet, but I am not good enough to know the name of it, so the super internet.
Yeah, well, it might be like the neural net or something, like embedded in your brain or something.
I don't think that'll become a thing, because if as soon as technology goes into you, it will become technology that's in you that's also outdated.
Interesting.
So I think that is right now the biggest thing. If you can make it modular, in and out, don't even make it like a day trip to like the hospital, then it'll happen.
Okay.
But if you got to spend time to get it implanted in your brain, you got to take like a week or 2 weeks recovery, just to have it be obsolete in 10 years, it's not going to catch on.
It's the eye.
Yeah,
the Apple eye.
If you can pop the eyes in and out sort of thing, you got something that'll hook up automatically, in the back of the
Every year you have to get the new model of the eye put in.
Oh, but yeah, for those who decide to forego it, instead of going with the eye, they'll wind up just wearing the eye patch.
The eye patch, okay. Yeah.
I have forgotten it. I wear the patch instead of the eye by Apple. They will become the future pirates. So we do actually have an official main topic this week.
Oh yeah, should we get? I think there was one. Did I mention IFCon?
Oh no, that's right. Yes, I mentioned that as well.
IFCon is happening in Victoria at the end of October, so please go to the IFCon. Like, I guess Google it. I'll put a link in the show notes.
Long story short, they got lots of good local authors. They've got celebrities. I believe the original Wednesday Addams.
Yeah, something like that.
Yes, good quality celebrities, people that you've recognized throughout your youth. Go there, take a look, man. I mean, maybe you find someone you saw, and then it's like all the memories of the TV series comes back into your brain. Oh my goodness,
Yeah, we don't have GotaCon anymore, but thankfully we do have IFCon. IFCon is kind of more of a movie, television, book, comic book convention, rather than
more
games.
of a visual format style. But that's not a bad thing.
It's half of what we talk about, pretty much.
Yeah.
So
it is Halloween, October 31st, and November 1st, which is a Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, and I think I'm probably going to be there, but I don't know yet for sure. But I don't know. Look for me if you're listening to this and coming to the.
Well, I suppose on November 1st we'll have an IFCon wrap-up report.
Oh yeah, we'll do the podcast on the Sunday. Yeah, so.
I wish I could be there. Unfortunately, I think it might conflict with my work schedule.
Okay.
I'm gonna that and my Halloween schedule. And we got costumes aplenty to wear, so it's like I got to do that.
Yeah, you have to. Oh, you and your have to again.
I gotta
go to the
with
fair.
My wife and my family, and I
gotta hang out with the family.
Yeah. Here's the thing, though: we had to throw out some candy like a week ago. It was Halloween candy from last year.
Halloween. Hey, listen, if you next time. Because I'm always up for.
Well, that's the thing is we weren't certain if Zoe was going to be big on it. She likes the little suckers, but she likes using them as like drumsticks to beat with. She doesn't like using them as candy.
She doesn't like eating them. Does she know you can eat them?
I believe she does. She just prefers to use them as like drumsticks and drum with them.
Okay.
Who knows? If she becomes a drummer later in life, we know where it started. Halloween.
Yes.
Yes, we do have a topic this week.
Oh, can I say one more thing
about
stuff happening in Victoria? There is also the Roll for Initiative event.
Oh, that's right.
Which is a monthly event that happens at Lifetime Networks, which is in Gordon Head in Victoria, British Columbia. It is $10 if you're like a normal person, but only $2 or something like that, or possibly even free. I'm not sure, but you'll have to look at it.
Much reduced
if you're a dungeon master.
Yes.
We get together and we play Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition on a Saturday afternoon once a month. This month it's on the 27th, I want to say, September the 27th. And next month it is I think it might collide with IFCon, so I'm not sure which one I'll get to. But it's just for the afternoon, or it starts at 4, so yeah. So, come on out if you're in Victoria. Okay, there. That's all the things I wanted
now to say. The topic that we have.
Can we get to?
Well, I've been looking up at the monsters sort of thing. I want to get stuff done right for my stuff, and I was looking up at the dragons there, and you mentioned it as well.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting thing, especially in D&D, dragons are a little weird.
Dragons are weird.
Especially when you consider 5th edition, like they've decided to make things a little better, make things a little smoother, have a nice sense of cohesion, and leave the old weird past behind. But they still have color-coded dragons based on alignment. Yeah, so
you have your chromatics: red, white, green, blue, black.
And then you got your good ones: your gold, silver, bronze, brass, and copper.
Yeah.
No love for tin. But the thing is that this smacks very heavily of like the old Final Fantasy, the original Final Fantasy game, where you'd have your green giant, your wood giant, your underground giant, your this and that, and it was basically just like a palette swap.
Yeah, and, video games love doing that.
The older ones especially, because you only had so much space to put in there. It was a forgivable sin, because it's like, do you want more monsters? Well, here we go. Yeah. This is the same sort of thing, just with a palette swap. That makes it easier on the space constraints. And I've got the old red box, TSR, game for Dungeons & Dragons. I look up at the old monsters there, and dragons were weird then. There was only one good dragon, gold, and then there were 3 bad dragons. And they were color-coded then, and the only real difference on them was their breath weapon. That was it. They didn't discuss really anything different.
Yeah.
But if you hit them to less than their health, they would wind up not dying, but becoming subjugated by you. You captured a dragon. And then you have a chance of selling a dragon for so much gold, but you got to be careful, because if you don't watch it all the time, it will try and escape later on.
Mm-hmm.
Every other creature died. Dragons just got subdued at that point. It was a rather odd little occurrence. Don't get me wrong. I mean, there's a good amount of gold you can get off that. Apparently, I don't know who's buying dragons, but it's there.
The dragon's family. It's like, we'll pay you for them back.
Oh, great. You've become a kidnapper. Be like getting beaten up by mice and being held ransom for cheese.
Yeah.
Harsh. Dragons have always been a little weird in that regard. I'm kind of happy they got rid of the subdual and, sell for profit sort of thing.
Okay. Although I still, as a player, that's like, oh, I could do that.
Well, I mean, now you get to turn their skin and hide into like very decent armor.
Mm-hmm.
Anywhere from effective leather to full plate, depending on its size and how much time you want to spend to reduce it down.
Mm-hmm.
I won't lie, I would not mind, having a character with like some dragon scale armor in one form or another.
Yep.
Because it's like, whoa, man, that's badass. You don't see that with a lot of other creatures. Like name another protected, like tough creature in D&D there, Josh. Pick something.
Bulette.
Yeah, and I mean, think about that. Like dwarves should love boulette or boulet.
Well, you can say it how you want to say it. I'm going to say it Bulette.
I
know
boulet.
the person who wrote the initial article didn't speak French very well and thought that was how you spelled boulet or pronounced boulet.
Okay, well, I'll call it the boulet. You call it boulette, and we'll cover everyone's bases. Yeah. But yeah, they're notoriously well protected, sort of species. Very chthonic, very earth related. You'd suspect the dwarves would love some boulet-proof armor.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I
had to put that joke in. Yeah, I think it's mandatory. You can also work with the Gorgons.
Gorgon, yeah.
Which is, like it's almost spell-proof armor to some degree.
Yeah, Gorgons have reflective. They reflect.
At least
spells
in D&D, which is a very odd thing. I'm pretty certain the person wasn't looking up their Greek mythology.
Well, because Gorgon is a Medusa, or Medusa is a.
Medusa is one of
Gorgon.
the three Gorgons. Yeah.
Medusa was a person.
Medusa, Uriel, and Setheno, I believe, was their names. Okay. They have names. They were people. Monstrous, but people. Accept it. So, yeah, they just decided, okay, yeah, they got really tough armor. They're completely untamable. That was their notorious thing. Is there's no way you'll ever tame one. Ha.
Right. The D&D Gorgon. The bull-type Gorgon.
Yeah, the bull-type Dungeons & Dragons Gorgon.
Yeah.
Never any list for getting like magic reflective armor off of that.
Huh.
So dragons have always been an exceptional creature, for good or for ill, and for weirdness, and makes sense.
Yeah, well, because I've had players encounter, like I've thrown a dragon at them and be like, "Yay, we had fun, we fought a dragon," and I'm like, "Oh, okay, well, I'm glad I did that." And then the player's like, "Okay," they start rubbing their hands together and like, "How can I, turn the hide into?" armor, or like what can I do? Because players get really excited about that.
Because it is exceptional, and but here's the thing: that gets players like, oh yeah, man, we can make dragon hide armor. This is wicked. Why aren't they doing that more with other creatures?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's like, okay, now over in the Hackmaster system, each creature has like a meat market department, for lack of a better term, where the eyeball of we'll say a gargoyle can be used, for like a see-through stone spell component and all this and that. And it basically lists all the good stuff in there. So like, here's like a vivisection report for what you can get out of it. So not only can you kill the monster and take its loot, you can use its body in your whatever practices.
Yeah. Well, and I guess another thing that happens with players is the player will go through like, so many levels of adventuring career, not really caring too much about skins and tanning and stuff, but all of a sudden they kill a dragon, and suddenly this character gets this idea in their head, oh, I want its skin, and the DM's like, but yeah, you don't have any ranks in leatherworking or skinning or tanning.
I've made characters with ranks just in case that sort of thing happens.
That's true, but it just occurred to me that like in real life, sometimes that does happen to a person. Is they'll go through a life and they're like, oh yeah, I'm having fun adventuring, blah 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 blah, and they encounter something that triggers something in their head. They're like, I want to try leatherworking, and then they'll learn it. Because they're adventurous. They're like, oh, they like trying new things, so they'll like pick up that skill as an adult and be like, oh, how can I do it? And they'll make like a crappy taxidermy or something like that,
Sometimes they'll say, oh yeah, this is my homemade leather glove, like with the extra finger and like half the working joints allowed. Yeah. Well, at least they gave it a shot, right?
But
that said, if you've killed a dragon and stolen its hoard, you should be able to afford professional leather workers on this sort of thing. Come on.
Yeah, that too. Although, like, it's almost an adventure in itself to make sure you get one who isn't like just gonna fleece you, and
Well, on the other hand, I mean, like I don't suspect dragons are killed often enough that they can steal your dragon hide and try and sell it on the black market. That's too hot an item.
Okay, yeah, good point. But at part of that, because of that, also there won't be any expert dragon skinners. There'll be guys who good at working with sort of other skins, transfer those skills over to dragons, but it'll still be a little bit. Well, I don't really know.
Well, thank goodness you don't have to worry about that as like a subcategory of leatherworking.
I guess in D&D it's just roll the dice and just okay, or you have a penalty, I guess, to the roll,
or it just takes you longer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of taking longer, also an aside, I guess, on skinning dragons. Sometimes I found in games that you do the big dragon fight. You're like, oh yeah, we killed the dragon. We got its body. We bring it back to town. Okay, somebody can skin it. And then we looked up in the rules, and it's 6 months to make the right set of armor or something?
Yeah, it takes a while, man. That's the thing is, I've done the numbers for how quickly can you craft this particular item for me, because I believe most weaponsmith shouldn't have all the weapons just sitting up on a wall.
Yeah, exactly.
They'll wonderful images of what they can do, pictured up on there, that. But how long will it take to make? I was able to get, with a proper trained dwarven smith and 3 apprentices, about a week for a really good item that I wanted and all that stuff. But it's not something that's just just take it off the wall and pay for it.
Yeah. So that's I guess as a DM, that's something you sort of have to plan ahead for, and not make your adventures
hinge on that. If they don't have the dragon scale armor, they are dead.
Yeah. So that's just a little planning ahead that you have to do. And as a player, you just have to. I guess campaigns are often not paced quite that way.
You know what else
right?
you could wind up doing though, while they're turning it into a whole set of armor, is that you go over and you get the anthropologists and you get them to take the dragon bones and make a giant display, man. Like a dinosaur thing at the museum,
That's
man.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you find a rich noble you want to curry favor with. It's dude, I got you a dragon skeleton. Put it in your foyer. Everyone loving it. Go for it, man. That'd
be pretty awesome.
Yeah.
That'd be good if you had your own stronghold too. But,
beautiful.
Depends how rich you are by that point, what level of character you are.
Or it depends on whether or not you just want to curry favor with someone,
Yeah.
So some things can't be bought, but some things can be gifted.
Yeah.
So it's hey, how would you like a dragon skeleton adorning your foyer?
Yeah.
Just
cool.
Keep the necromancers away from it.
I'm picturing the Roman emperors who got people would bring elephants from Africa and giraffes. Here, have these giraffes.
or the whole bit where the trading system that they were trying to do over in from China to make China the center of the world. They had trading ships out, and they came back with the giraffe.
Yeah.
Not a giraffe, the giraffe. They managed
giraffe.
to be fleeced into saying there's only one of these ever here. Give us lots of goods and we will give you the giraffe. Perfect marketing. Oh man, it's kind of fun seeing the Middle Empire get fleeced on something like that. We have the giraffe, man. That's what's so good about this stuff. We have the giraffe because of this.
I think French kings got some of that cool stuff too, didn't they? And before the French Revolution, the Louis XIV, he would have had a menagerie with all the African animals.
Oh, well, at least as many as could survive.
And then they die and just get another one.
Yeah, but it takes a long time, and you gotta who's gonna do anything with that pen? But yeah, I mean, with dragon stuff, you can have all sorts of fun with that, man. I mean, oof. What self-respecting wizard doesn't have a dragon skull sitting somewhere in their wizard's tower? Come on, man. Come on.
Yeah.
You don't see a lot of beholder skulls sitting around, and that's a very distinctive thing.
What does a beholder skull look like?
Kind of like a giant head, but I guess for a cyclops.
But would it have? It would just be one piece. Would it have little vertebrae, backbones and all?
From
the
what
eyes?
I've seen in there, there's no backbone. It's just a giant, crazy spherical skull with a weird jaw thing underneath, and some holes for extra eye sockets where they come on out.
Yeah.
But you don't see that when wizards are showing off. Look at my wizard's tower, ha ha ha. No, it's a dragon skull.
Yeah.
Always a dragon skull.
I guess, dragon skulls are quite distinctive. They look more animal-like, because, some monster skulls might just look like giant human skulls.
Have you ever seen an elephant skull? Those things look downright alien. You get rid of the flesh, the bone, you get the weird little holes for the tusks there. Oof, it's crazy animal. Yeah. You don't see any elephant skulls sitting in the back of the wizard's tower. I killed it with a fireball. I'm like, no. That doesn't impress anyone. Killing the dragon, that's impressive. It might just be because of the nature of Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, it is in the name,
Yeah.
It's like, oh boy, man, like a nod to the name of the book series. Woo! Dungeons and Dragons. Let's go kill us a dungeon. Hang that up on the wall.
Yeah. And then...
Oh, wouldn't that be weird? Get like an epic level like shrink spell. Like you've defeated the dungeon, everything in there. And then instead of like just like shrink item, it's shrink dungeon. Put it small, it's like a big old ant farm up on the wall. That's what you do at epic level. You collect dungeons.
Yeah?
Well, how else are you going to display it? Were you going to recreate it underneath your wizard's tower?
Well, you could do that, yeah. You could hire some model makers. You hire some D&D nerds to build it for you.
Oh, that's So you go through the entire dungeon. You find every secret door and all that stuff, and you record down where you found it, and then you just get some D&D nerds to help make like a miniature version of it, for in your display room.
Mm-hmm.
This is the Cogwheel dungeon I defeated. As you can see, it is accurate to 1/44th scale, and it actually ticks in the same pattern as the Cogwheel dungeon itself. So I suppose if you got money to blow, I mean, that's a very good way to impress people. Have like a dungeon art gallery.
Yeah. So if you're super rich, and you wanted like a dragon trophy, and maybe you're not the adventuring type, I suppose what you would do is you would hire a group of adventurers, or mercenaries or cutthroats. It
does have a weird sense to it, though, because dragons are sentient.
Yeah.
Like killing the evil red dragon so that its tyranny will be lifted from the land. That's good. That's noble.
Okay.
Hey, I want you to kill this sentient non-humanoid. Well, that's just kind of like one step away from an assassination.
Yeah, or it is an assassination. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, especially if you go on the Shadowrun. President Dunkelzahn was the dragon who became president, and he wound up getting assassinated on his inauguration.
Yeah. Should we talk about...
Not an easy task, I will remind you. He had to be killed physically and astrally at the same time. Plus, he was like a several thousand-year-old dragon. Never an easy thing to kill in the first place, physically, or I suppose even astrally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were mentioning dinosaurs before.
Yes. And that's the weird thing to even have like a dragon and a dinosaur in the campaign together. Because they've never officially connected it together. But you look at a dragon, especially from the old historical accounts, and you cannot take a look at a dinosaur and say, yeah, I can see where the inspiration came from.
Yeah.
So if you have both of them in your campaign, then either the dragons are connected to the dinosaurs, or they're completely separate and they just happen to look a really lot alike.
And in our own sort of world, we have this stories that we tell of the age when the dinosaurs ruled the earth. And fantasy world is the age when the dragons ruled the earth. Which
I still don't understand why you don't see that happening. I mean, where is the Republic, in your fantasy campaign, where the head of one area of the Republic is like a gold dragon?
I think it happens from time to time.
Silver. They're a little bit more social sort of thing. You can see a silver dragon being a little bit more interested in mortal politics.
Isn't Dragonlance have dragons sort of as rulers?
Yes, but never in a good way. They're always the evil dragon overlords whose very presence alters the landscape.
I suppose that's a point though about dragons is that the reason why they might not rule a republic or be the head of a republic or something like that is because the nature of them is very physical. They have teeth and claws and fire that they breathe. So
amongst other things, yeah.
Yeah, their tools for ruling would be mostly
tyranny-based,
sort of destructive, and although you do have gold dragons. Well, gold dragons have the same tools, like the claws and teeth and fiery.
Well, they're all. I mean, for some reason, white dragons got the short end of the intelligence stick, but they're all very smart creatures.
Yeah,
human level plus easily on almost all categories.
Mm-hmm.
So just because they got big old claws, doesn't mean they can't negotiate.
Yeah, I guess that's true. But there would be less incentive necessarily. Like,
I suppose it would get very
negotiate.
tiring having to deal with the same dang thing every 100 years.
When you could just breathe fire on them and problem solved.
Just do as I say. I've been around long enough. I know what I'm doing. Just listen.
Yeah.
Either to my voice or my dragon breath. I'm not caring which at this point.
But, I mean, wouldn't the people might perceive that as tyranny, and somebody might hear about it in a far-off land and be like, no, we have to liberate them from that tyrant.
Well, keep in mind, the best system of government is a benevolent dictatorship.
Okay, yeah, sure.
So, like, where's the good aligned dragon that's, the dictator that's making sure things are going better off because of their influence?
Okay. Well, yeah, I might look through some different settings. There might be some example of it, but if not, yeah, that's a good thing to add to your own setting.
But because they're so darn monstrous, I mean, you could even wind up doing it in hiding, I suppose. You could have, a weird thing where it's like, oh, yes, this is a long-lived elven monarch. Secretly, pick a colored dragon. Or, sorry, pick a chromatic dragon.
A chromatic dragon. Bronze.
Okay, it's a bronze dragon in disguise. So I think it's been your long-lived leader. Who you thought was the leader wound up dying heroically, so, like 1,000 years ago, and he's been living ever since, is this immortal elven ruler.
All right.
Dig it.
Yeah.
Then maybe just, like, dragons don't dig, like, politics, I suppose.
Do you think
it's
dragons...
not in their mental landscape the same way it is for us?
I just thought of something, like, do you remember how I was saying earlier just now about how humans would live about 500 years if it were only accidents?
Yeah.
I wonder if that would apply to dragons. I guess there's less things that can accidentally kill a dragon.
Oh, especially with some of their better ACs, yes.
But they do, like, they fly, and there's some risk in that.
Gravity, mostly.
Gravity, yeah. They might run into a storm or something like that, or get struck by lightning, I don't know.
No, I suppose they could see far enough away, and even then, like, what's a lightning strike in D&D for natural weather? Like a 5d6 electrical damage?
I guess, yeah, it wouldn't necessarily kill them, yeah.
Some of them won't even take any damage. I mean, I breathe lightning, come on!
Yeah, that's true.
I spit this thing every 1d4 rounds. Come on, man. Well, that's the old one. I suppose it's now on a 5 or 6, sort of thing. So how they're working it.
Okay, yeah.
You roll a die 6 to
recharge it.
It recharges,
yeah.
I still prefer the 1d4 rounds. It sounds nerdier.
The point about rolling a die each round is that you don't have to remember how many rounds it's been. So
it's more fun this way. Because it sounds extra nerdy. I breathe this every 1d4 rounds, man. Come on.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I like dice. I like having there's a die anyways in there.
I wouldn't mind doing it if it was a count up, so it'd be like a 5, 6, plus 1 for every round it's been recharging. That way it's a guaranteed eventually. It's like, you can't just have the unluckiest dragon never recharge it back up again. Poor dragon. Never rolling a 5 or 6.
I haven't played enough D&D to know if combats last, but usually they don't last more than 5 or 6 rounds.
If you're doing it right, that's the thing with dragons is they've got,
I guess dragons might, yeah.
Now that's the interesting thing about dragons. A lot of creatures are very melee or close range. Dragons have the tools and the natural abilities to do strafing runs and just really pepper the players down. They don't need to stop and just I thrash you with everything. All they need to do is do like a flyby attack. Breathe, we'll say fire in this case, and then circle back up out of range.
Yeah.
So, like, if you're not fighting a dragon in its lair, you're fighting it on the surface world in most cases, in which case like they say don't attack a dragon in its lair, but my goodness, at least you have the, like, maximum distance for its range. I mean, like, going on, it can easily keep out of its thing and just whenever it wants to, just like, yeah, I'll just pick up a large boulder and just drop it on you guys, waiting for my thing to recharge.
It occurs to me, like, I haven't done a longer running campaign in a while, but it occurs to me, like, what I would probably want to do, if depending on how the players approach it, of course, would be just to have that dragon sort of, have that initial encounter with the dragon, and the dragon's like, okay, well, I can be strafing and stuff like that. So it sort of comes to a stalemate a little bit, because the dragon's keeping far enough away.
You can't hurt it fast enough or well enough.
But the players, so neither side can really, get the advantage. So one side, ultimately, maybe the dragon flies off, or maybe the PCs are like, okay, we got to get out of here.
Forget this stuff, man. Let's just pop in this cave for a little while and just, hide.
Yeah, and then but yeah, I've never had that happen because I've only run like sort of one shots lately, or so usually something happens. Usually it ends up with me having the dragon make a stupid move that ends up getting it killed by the players. But I guess that's part of how D&D is supposed to be played, anyways.
Well, if you're doing it smart, you're gonna initially want to lure the dragon in. I mean, you get your gold and treasure loot, maybe a maiden fair sort of bait going on. Sake, the maiden fair was actually my monk in disguise. Whatcha-cha!
I guess that's the other thing. Like in D&D, a dragon fight needs to have a reason. Like you can't just encounter a dragon and expect them to.
But they just wind up becoming like large lizards. It doesn't have that same.
Yeah.
Although I won't lie, because it was all random roll sort of thing. It's like, okay, we'll get together. You go into a room and there's random creatures inside. It was kind of nice trying to complete my collection of dragon heads for all colors.
Yeah.
And so it's like, yes, I got all 5. I'm retiring from adventuring. I'm starting up a bar. There's like a dragon head over every fireplace. There's 5 fireplaces.
Oh, yeah.
It's a big bar.
Yeah, that's nice.
Well, plus you don't want to overshadow. It's like, oh, why do you have the dragon head on the side? And it's like, well, I only had 2 fireplaces. You got to make room. No, 5 fireplaces, huge place. I'm rich enough. I killed 5 dragons. I ought to be rich by now. But yeah, without that epic sense of like, this is the boss, and that's what a dragon really is. It is the end monster sort of thing in many cases. You don't have random dragon fights. Although I won't lie, the books I've got from 3rd edition for the adventure stuff, there is small dragons in there, in like every one, I believe, and they're not the boss monster. They're just something that, oh no, there's like a dragon here that the kobolds were trying to tame, and it didn't last well. Meepo is the only survivor. But kill the dragon, please. It's blowing frost everywhere. It's a white dragon.
Yeah, we can't have that.
Well, I mean, it'll attack you viciously. It's just being rather nastily imprisoned. So, they're there, but it never smacks as being anything like grand and epic.
Yeah.
But if they got the size categories for them, you might as well use the stats.
Yeah.
I suppose.
Yeah.
So I suppose we're hitting the end of our podcast on this one.
Oh, just about to the end. I should do our social media.
How can they get a hold of us?
You can email us, thesimulationist@gmail.com is our email address. You can comment on our Facebook page or like the page, facebook.com/thesimulationist. And you can comment there on our thread as we post it. You can check us out on YouTube, youtube.com/simulationist. And what else we got? You can follow me on Twitter at SpacebootOne. That's
numeral 1.
Yes, Spaceboot numeral 1 on Twitter, and tweet at me and so forth. If you found this podcast on iTunes or some Stitcher or some other place where it allows reviews, we would love to have your feedback, your ratings, your little write-up in the text box. Whatever you feel like putting, these guys are great, or so on and so forth. And of course, if you feel like it, share us in real life or on some other social media that we haven't mentioned.
If you're the only one in your adventuring group that really thinks dragons are weird, let the other people know. Just saying, hey man, I'm not the only one thinking this way. Let other people know.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, and send us all your thoughts on on dragons and all other things, gaming and real life and whatever you feel like talking about.
So final thoughts?
Final thoughts on dragons? Yeah, I guess, my final thought on this episode is we just barely scratched the surface with dragons. I think we could do a whole dragon, sub-podcast, probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think my final thought is I'm not big on the color coordination system.
Okay.
It seems a little hackneyed and weird.
Well, you would do something like a biological kind of
I would work it more as a modular design. A particular skin color indicates, I guess, an elemental alignment propensity. I wouldn't definitely say it has to be neutral evil, it has to be this one. I'd make all dragons, one species with just a lot of variation in them. Like sometimes, they do this breath weapon, sometimes they've got this.
Okay.
A little bit more variation going on. Make them more wild. If you're going to have them as a monster, make them more monstrous. Get the 2-headed versions in there. Get the horrible scything claws going on.
Oh, I like that. Okay. One thing I like about the way they have dragons now is that I like a little bit of predictability. I like the players to be able to say, okay, that's a red dragon, probably fire, probably evil, But maybe not. It's possible that it could be break the norm, but at least something the players kind of expect going in.
I would like them to take notes from dinosaurs, though. Instead of just having a flat tail to smack on them, get a clubbed one, like the ankylosaur. Get a stegosaurus spiked tail. We'll have a little bit more variation, especially there. Change up if all it does is change the damage type from like bludgeoning to piercing and all that. Yeah, it's completely fine, completely wonderful. Make it a little bit more different, sort of thing. Because a lot of them are portrayed as horrible engines of destruction. If you really want to go that way, own up to it, man. Don't just say, "Oh yeah, they're wonderful, majestic creatures." No, make them a horrible, living engine of destruction. Make them utterly just ravaging, just destroy the countryside and their horrible natures.
Yeah.
Even the good ones should still be considered greedy, rapacious, and very dangerous to be around.
Oh yeah.
One of the things I do really dig about Shadowrun was they had stuff for that for the dragons. Is different abilities depending on what they could do, different magical abilities, different styles, extra armor, and everything. It was all there, and it made sure that every dragon you'd encounter was a dragon of a particular thing, and it was just this unique dragon. Each one was very unique, and that way you'd also have to consider them as being a unique thing, like a creature or a person. Yeah,
well, okay, so you're talking about this thing about having dragons having a lot of variety.
As one dragon type, or maybe
okay.
They had the Western, Asiatic, and then your Quetzalcoatl, or feathered dragon type.
Yeah.
As your three types, but that mattered very little aside from their base stat lines in Shadowrun.
Okay.
The abilities they had was uniquely tailored to each dragon, which meant every encounter you had with them was a uniquely tailored dragon for the situation.
Yeah, okay, that's good. But I find that like through the course of a campaign, it's very hard to get like a lot of dragon encounters in. So it's hard to make that sort of distinction when it's like a dragon every 2 or 3 levels or something like that.
In this case, I suppose it works better for the dragon as an NPC as much as it is for a combat encounter.
Okay, yeah, that's good because they can choose whether they want to engage in combat or
do the conversation with it, have the dragon work with you for a bit or work against you,
and then they betray you or something, or
and
you
then
betray
in
them.
the end, it finally comes down to a fight, a contest of wills, and that it's like magician's will versus dragons. Meanwhile, the fighter's hacking away at it. A contest of strength.
Yeah. And I suppose if you had a wizard character who had like a lot of ranks in knowledge arcana, I suppose would be wizards.
Well, it's the thing. You could identify what sort of dragon it is by name just by figuring out like what ability. What did it use? Well, it summoned spirits at us, and then it shrugged off the most powerful blow from our Panther assault cannon. So heavily armored and summoned spirits. Well, that's 2 out of 3 abilities listed in there. And so chances are we're dealing with Greg the Dragon.
Yeah, and you can figure out regional variations, like, this dragon has like a spot that only dragons from the Andes have, or something like that.
Well, in this case, it'd be like, yes, we've located it in this area, and the dragons are very distinctive, so what dragons have good dealings with the big dragons in the area, and from that we can deduce down. In which case, determining the dragon not only helps you in future encounters with it, but also becomes an interesting logic game. Like, you got to do some search, you got to do some research on this stuff. Yep. So that's my thing. If I had the chance, I would write up dragons as one species rather than all these different color-coordinated stuff, and make it with a little bit more variation, tailor it to your own campaign and fight style.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Well, that's just me. I don't know. It would take a little extra work, so I won't lie on that.
Yeah. There's something to be said for just taking the dragon straight out of the book.
Yeah, it's easier. What can I say? All right. But yes, I suppose we will see you again in 7 days.
All right. Yeah, I've been Josh Gillette.
I've been Ryan Kirkby.
Bye-bye.